I'm looping through the lava lamp, leaving a tail. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got soul. I'm the pilot of the party. On a roll, TV remote's a gate, the lamps are diving, flying like it's 7.5. No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. We fly that flow. Grab that gap. No time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that roll. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. We fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a glass from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti and it is Fresh Gear Friday. Welcome. We're going to be taking a look at the Meteor75 BetaFPV Meteor75 Pro V2 04 wide. The names have gotten out of control. I finally got this thing up in the air today, and what a blast, man. Good Lord. Hold on, let me zoom this in a little bit. Always forget. Yeah, what a blast. Holy cow. I am staggered by what BetaFPV has gotten out of 1S. These new 1102 21,000 kV motors are something special. And these props are also really nice. They're a little fragile, if I'm honest, but these are the brand new GemFan 1810 propellers. And I'm really, really impressed with them. They pair really well with these motors. This thing flies great. You were just watching it railing around the front yard. We are going to talk about... I have 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4... I think I have 6 batteries worth of flying that we're going to play through, and I'll talk you through. I'm going to show you a bunch of the build tips that I have for this thing. If you buy it as a bind and fly, it's going to come ready to go. If you don't buy it as a bind and fly, you're going to have to put the 04 in there. And there are definitely some tips that can... I mean, to be honest, if you buy it as a bind and fly, I think some of these tips you're going to want to do anyway. E6000 around the grommets, run a different DJI cable, rotate the flight controller so that the battery plug is in the front, like I talked about last week, and like I do on my RC drift car chasing rig, which is also very front heavy from the camera being on the nose. So yeah, there's a couple things that you can do to this that are very, very simple, that'll absolutely improve its performance and durability. And then we're going to talk through some upgrades, which, to be honest, are mainly going to be propellers. This canopy only works on these Meteor75 Pro V2 frames, the 65 and the 75. And so you can't really upgrade the frame. These motors on this 75, you can't upgrade the frame, period. These motors, I don't think you're going to get much better than them, but the Gepar C1002 25,000s might be better. I don't think they will be, though. But if you wanted a higher KV motor to maybe like run biblades, that's something that you could do. I mean, the upgrade discussion is going to be pretty quick. We've kind of already had it. A nice antenna. And we are going to drop some of the flight footage into Gyroflow to see how that is as well. I ended up building mine with Flywoo 04 wide, which you can get to work, but this is specifically meant for the DJI 04 wide. And so you can, from Flywoo, get the DJI 04 wide with the old school MP66 gyro on it, which is going to work a lot better. But the real test of this sled here that the camera and VTX are mounted to is with the newer normal 04 light gyro, which I forget the number of the gyro, but it's the gyro that nobody wants. It's much more sensitive. It clips a lot more. There's a lot more aliasing to it. There are some amazing people working on a fix for that, namely Jamie Fly's FPV. But it's from what I've heard, also Gyroflow might just put something in there, which should clean up the gyro data to get around a lot of those issues. Jamie has stabilized a bunch of my flight footage already. Flown on 04 light narrow, as we're now calling it, Flywoo wide and DJI 04 wide, and her software, which looks at the gyro data and fixes the aliasing and the clipping, is doing a hell of a job. I've actually got a bunch of flight footage from old school 04 Pros, which are supposed to have been immune to all this, with some like small jitters here and there, and her software should be able to clean that up, which is fantastic. This has been so. I've been trying to use 04 Pro on professional gigs this year, and so what I'll do is like I'll bring it in addition to my main like Cinewhoop that drags around a Hero 12 that I run through Real Steady Go, and you know that's been like my main working setup forever, for years and years and years now. And the 04 Pro comes really close, but all said and done, the footage is never perfect. There are always like these phantom weird like jitters that won't be there in the raw footage, but then like the big movements and the big prop wash and the big moments that you want stabilized, it does a fantastic job with. And so I've been a little disappointed with Gyroflow this year, again trying to use it professionally, and as it turns out, it was just the gyro data. I don't know what's going on with these little weird jitters that pop up from time to time. Patrons, you have access to two versions of the same edit that I put up the other day. One with the both of them flown on my frame. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. Which is a 3-inch frame that I put the new Flywoo DJI 04 wide light MPU 66 gyro in. I think I got all the words there. And it is the same exact edit, me ripping around the neighborhood, fairly clean build, hardcore freestyle build, one with no stabilization whatsoever, and then the other edit with Gyroflow turned on. I have my Gyroflow settings to be fairly sort of tame because I don't want it to do a lot. And you can absolutely see it in there. You can absolutely see that the raw flight, it actually looks better. Like, yes, there's a couple moments where I put the thing into prop wash and it has like a big hit of something. But all the rest of the time, there's no nonsense, no jittering, nothing. Super, super, super butter smooth, other than when I fuck up as a pilot and I put it into its own prop wash and like hammer the throttle in a weird way. And then you watch the Gyroflow stabilized file, and those moments of prop wash are completely gone. Any moments where like I really jam on the sticks are smoothed out. But then there's a bunch of moments where I'm sort of just like flying, and there's these little tiny jitters that are in there. You won't be able to see this on your phone, I don't think. You have to watch it on like a proper computer or on your TV. But it's absolutely there, and that's with the better old school gyro. And that is the same experience that I've gotten with with my live broadcast setup. As well as my Cinesplorer, to be honest. For the live broadcast work that I do, I have two of these AOS Cinas. This is the 30. I also have a 35. And they both have the old school 04 Pro on board. These are also really good for just like regular cinematic work. And so I've been bringing this thing with me all year to every gig that I've done with my regular Cinewhoop, which looks a lot like this. It's built on the Cinesplorer frame. This is what I have jokingly called the Avada Killer. This is an 04 Pro on board with a Cinesplorer frame, 2004's 20 by 20 stack. And this is very, very similar to my main Cinesplorers that I drag a GoPro Hero 12 around with, except for the fact that these motors are a little bit smaller, a little bit lower kV. That's my main one. It's on 2104s that are a little bit higher of a kV, and I run it on 5-blade Gemfan props. This guy, since it's so much lighter, I can get away with these tri-blades. This will run for almost 10 minutes. That's kind of why I jokingly call this the Avada Killer. And so I've been doing the same thing with this as well on like really like low speed stuff. I've been pulling the footage out of this and running it through Gyroflow, and it's really good. And I can horizon lock it, which sometimes I'll do. But again, there's these moments where there's just like this, just jutteriness, which is even though it's on the old gyro, that is just a gyro signal that's not perfectly clean. And so, yeah, it's happening on multiple different rigs. It also happens on the Siren A 3.5-inch open prop rig. So, like, even that MP66 gyro is not perfect. And so either Gyroflow or Jamie's software cleaning up your gyro data is really the only way to get perfectly smooth flight footage out of the 04 Pro, unless you soft mount the shit out of the camera. I don't love soft mounting these cameras because the soft mounting can cause jello, and jello you will never get out. Jello is in the footage forever. Hard mounting your HD camera, and even a GoPro Hero 12, you know, having that on like a TPU mount, that's still hard mounted. That's not a mount that is on like rubber grommets that's designed to move up, down, left, right, front, and back on a very soft kind of platform. When you do fully soft mount the camera, if you don't get jello problems, the gyro data is going to be cleaner and potentially like just good to go once you put it through Gyroflow. And so, yeah, if you're getting lost already, I know I'm starting to get into the weeds. We're going to go way deeper in the weeds tonight here, friends. But if you're starting to get lost already, hang around, stick with me. You're going to learn a lot, I promise. Maybe rewatch this, maybe just keep watching these live streams, and you're going to continue to learn more and more and more. I am like, if Joshua Bardwell is FPV 101, 102, and 103, I tend to be like FPV 102, 103, and maybe 104. And so, yeah, we're going to get in the weeds. Some shit's not going to make sense. My Discord is filled with brilliant folks that hang out on these live streams a lot. Ask some questions there. Come back to another stream. Ask some questions in the live chat here tonight. If you're not watching this live, put a comment, ask a question. If you've got a question, there's like a dozen more people that have that same question. So, you know, yeah, engage with me, people. Jargon. Come on now with the jargon. In the chat, Dagul was first. Level Up FPV was next. Ryan Sadat, Matthew Wegner, Uriel Uke. Delete me _ text. Not dot, just underscore. Brandon, JFA, Frank Dr. Nicholas, Too Old to FPV, my dad, Phil Bradley, Brandon again. I think I might have gotten everybody. Thanks for coming, friends. The intro to the live stream, you were watching the maiden of this guy. The full setup, this is like out of the box, just with some build differences. BetaFPV 1102, 21,000 kV motors. That first battery that you were watching was on a 480 mAh BetaFPV Lava V2. And this is the battery that I think that you should run on this thing. You can easily get more than 2 minutes. These batteries are cheap. They're super quick to change out, right? There's not even a battery strap. You just slide it into the plastic. When it's done, unplug it, yank it out, slide the new one in. You can do battery changes in less than 30 seconds. Take advantage of how quick and easy it is to change batteries on this by running the lightest weight battery that you possibly can. The other really, really lightweight battery is this Tattoo 1S 450. It sags a little bit more than the Lava V2s, but it is a little bit lighter. I actually have a little bit of indoor flying with this slightly lighter battery. This 75 is absolutely not for flying indoor. I had to try really hard to not absolutely annihilate this thing flying it inside the house. This Tattoo 450 is 12.4 grams. The Lava 480 is 12.7. So it's not much lighter, and it does sag more. So like, I don't necessarily recommend this battery, but I think this is the lightest of the 1S 450s. It's not light enough to warrant like running out and getting them, but it is interesting to kind of compare it. These Lava V2 480s are really, really good. Weebleed also has some 450s. They are absolutely fine. They're going to be on par with this guy. So, yeah. Any old 1S 450, if I'm completely honest, is going to be totally fine. But if you have a choice, these 480s are going to be the way to go. They're the newest. And BetaFPV is doing a great job with kind of everything lately. Their components, their motors, their bind and flies, their batteries. Like, they're just absolutely... And like, go figure. A big part of the reason that they're doing so well lately is that they're listening to us. I've been blown away over the last 2 years with how much like BetaFPV has been interacting with the community and just like listening and like watching. Like when we do reviews and stuff, they very obviously watch them, and then they'll make changes that like we think that they, you know, like we'll say like, oh, I love this, but I don't love this. And then the next version of the product will have all of those things that all of us reviewers didn't love, like fixed. It's been really, really cool. And like my contact at BetaFPV has been amazing as well. Like, Lily is awesome, and I think she actually watches these live streams, which is crazy. That we've just never really had that. We've never really had a manufacturer in FPV that so obviously is watching the reviews, listening to the reviews, having people fly these things, sending them out early to folks and getting feedback and making changes. And that's, it's crazy that that we have to be like, wow, that's amazing. Like, you would think that having a massive community of people that are willing to do your R&D for you for free, all manufacturers would take advantage of that, but it's just that they just don't. Sometimes every once in a while they do. BetaFPV is consistently doing that, and I think it really shows, and I'm super impressed by that. So yeah, Meteor at the moment 75. We are in the future here going to be moving this into the smaller 1.4 inch prop frame. This is a 1.8 inch prop frame. Meteor 75 Pro. The Pro refers to slightly bigger propellers. The regular Meteor 75, which you've seen before, it has this canopy, and it's on, they sell it as a 1.2 inch build, and they also sell it as a 1.6 inch build. And so there's not the word Pro in there. It's just like Meteor 65 or Meteor 75 04. Those builds are designed around the old school 04 Light, which I think we should now call the 04 Narrow. And I have actually... so BetaFPV sent me one of those a while ago, and I kept the AIO and I put it aside because I knew that it was going to come in handy at some point. And it has. I've put it into my favorite 1.2 inch prop frame, which is the Newbie Drone Cockroach V3. And I've got my favorite, like, powerful but efficient motors on here, which are the Weebleed 0702 40,000s. I've got my favorite propellers, even though they're not very durable. This is like an indoor rig. HQ 1.2 by 0.9 by 3 propellers. I've chosen the lightest weight canopy, which is the Mobula 704 canopy from Happy Model. Just for the time being, I want to keep this weight down as low as I can. The next little version of this is going to have the BetaFPV canopy, which is a little bit heavier. But what's cool about it is it's got a little bit of soft mounting here. It's got a little soft mounted sled that the camera sits in. But again, it adds weight. I want to build this as light as I possibly can for right now, and that's what this canopy does. And so I've got an 04 Narrow setup here that's as light as possible for flying indoor. When I move this thing over to the 65 Pro frame, I want to compare these two. I think the better comparison is going to be to get this thing out of this canopy and put it into the BetaFPV canopy with a little bit of soft mounting, which I will do, but just for right now, I wanted to put this thing in the lightest weight possible setup. And so I haven't had a chance to get this up in the air. I just finished this up. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that's kind of coming here. We're gonna move this. We're gonna move this sled and electronics package into the Meteor 65 Pro frame, which is a 1.4 inch propeller frame, versus this, which is a 1.2 inch propeller frame. So yeah, there's some cool comparisons coming up. I'm also going to compare this. I really wanted to do this today, but I ran out of time. We're going to compare this on 1S with 1.8 inch props to my previous favorite way of moving an 04 Narrow around, which is a 1.6 inch prop build on 2S. This is a Mobula 7 V3 frame. These are the old school BetaFPV 1102 motors in, what are they, 14,000, I believe? I'm as blind as a bat now. 18,000, good lord. 18,000 kV 1102 old school BetaFPV motors, but on 2S. And I believe this is motor limited down. Gemfan 1610 bi-blade propellers. I really like bi-blades on these outdoor whoops because they're a little bit more slidey, and that's what I want outside. I want these things to be able to slide around a little bit more. Inside, that's absolutely not what I want. But yeah, these are outdoor setups. Like, you'll see when I flew this inside, like, I was holding on for dear life. It wasn't really a fun experience because, like, this is so heavy and powerful that it's going to demolish things in your house. This is absolutely not for flying indoors. This is 100% an outdoor build as a 75. I'm super curious when I move this onto the smaller frame with a smaller set of lighter motors, what it'll be like inside. My guess is it's still not going to be great, because I haven't had good luck with any of these digital builds inside the house. You're adding, when you go from an analog whoop to a digital whoop, no matter what, you're going to add 7 to 8 grams of weight. And right there, that's too much. Like, to fly indoor competently and have a good time doing, you know, front flips, back flips, power loops, matty flips, wall rides, all the fun stuff, dives, it's just got to be really lightweight, like 12, Jesus, like 16, 17, 18 grams dry. If you add 8 grams to that, it's just, everything is out the window, right? You're like doubling the weight of the build. I'm sorry, not doubling. You're adding 50% weight to the build, and that's just ridiculous. That's just way too much. And then you've got more latency too. And so, like, a big chunk of extra weight and a bunch of extra latency, and like flying a digital rig inside your house, yeah, sure, it's doable, but it's just not fun. Like, you're gonna break your possessions. The people that you live with are gonna hate you because you're gonna break their possessions as well. It's gonna break because when it crashes, it's gonna hit like a ton of bricks because it's carrying a bunch of extra weight around. The digital camera and VTX systems are not nearly as durable as all the analog stuff, so you're gonna break 04s, which is expensive. You know, even if you can get them, sometimes they'll repair them, and then it's not expensive, but it's time consuming. And so, yeah, the whole, like, flying digital inside thing, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But hey, that's just me. Like, there are people that swear by it, and if you enjoy it, that's on you. I don't. I enjoy flying hard and doing crazy tricks, and to do those with the digital stuff inside the house, it's not light enough yet. If the Artisan system gets built on board, that'll fix the onboard AIOs, which it looks like BetaFPV is working on. That'll fix the weight problem, but the latency problem is always going to be there, and the Artisan system latency is pretty nasty, like worse than 04. And so the latency's, hopefully they figure it out, but at the moment the latency is even worse than these. And so, like, yeah, even if they can build it on board, you might get around the weight problem, but it's looking like the latency will get even worse. I have a feeling over time they'll figure it out, but over time, I think, is the key word there. At the moment, yeah, it's analog for indoors, but all this other stuff for outside. And so when Lily asked me, Lily from BetaFPV asked me, like, hey, do you want me to send you the 65 Pro or the 75 Pro? Just because I've been down this road trying to make digital work indoors, I asked her to send me the 75. Also because I'm much more interested in these motors than the motors that come on the 65. And so what she did is she sent me the 75, but then she threw a couple extra of the, well, not extra, just a couple of the 65 Pro frames in there. I don't really care about the 802s that they put on the 65 Pro, because they only have 1mm motor shafts. And when you're dragging around the extra weight of a digital system, a 1mm motor shaft is going to survive like 3 or 4 somewhat hard crashes, and then they're going to be banged up. And so I don't care about those 802s. I very much care about these 1102s because they are just melting my brain. I have no idea how these motors are making the power that they're making. I'm also really impressed that they kept the weight down on this. Like, that's a big part of the equation here, is that this is not super heavy. It's not super light. I'll say that for sure. But it can't be. The 04 wide, which is a significantly heavier camera, and then you've got this canopy, which is pushing the camera farther forward, and so that's going to add a bunch of weight. But man, they have backed that up with a bunch of extra power and a really well matched motor and propeller combo with these Gemfan 1811s. So, yeah, like I keep saying, I'm really, really impressed by this. I think I'm going to be a lot less impressed when I move it over to the 65 Pro setup. But you never know. I'm going to try a couple of different motors on that. I'm going to mess around with some different motors on this. We probably won't have time tonight, but there are going to be a couple more live streams surrounding this. I want to test these new motors against the old ones, the old 1102 22,000s, and like the Gep RC 1002 25,000s. So what I'm going to do on maybe Sunday's stream, maybe Monday's stream, maybe Wednesday's stream, I'm going to take 3 of these motors off and put the old 1102, the Gep RC, and we'll spin this thing up. I have a little portable power supply that I can hook up so that it gets the same voltage, and we'll wind the motors up and down, see what the RPM is. So yeah, we'll dive a little deeper into this thing. But tonight I want to look at this flight footage in Gyroflow. I want to talk about these subtle things that you can do with the build if you decide to get this, and a couple of upgrades, which are mainly just going to be talking about propellers for a minute. So yeah, that's what's coming. Before we dive back into this, the Caillou Mini is back, and it is on 3S, and this is the wrong battery strap. This is the Caillou battery strap that it comes with, and the Caillou Mini is meant for 2S. The 3S batteries are bigger and fatter and wider, and so this battery strap could just barely hold on to this old Lumineer 300 mAh 3S battery. This is not a great battery. It was sagging pretty bad, but it did answer the runtime question for me. I ended up getting over 3 minutes of runtime on this. I think just barely over 3 minutes of runtime on this on a 300 mAh 3S battery. And so I do not need or want a 3S 450 on this thing. I'm going to be shooting for 300, 350, and 380 mAh 3S batteries. And the first set of motors that I put on here to test are these T-Motor 1203, 7 or the 8,000? 7,000 kV motors, and these make plenty of power. So I don't know if I'm going to even try the 1204s. The plan previously was to get this thing onto the RC and Power 8,000 kV 1204s that I was thinking were going to pair really well with 2.5-inch props. But boy, these T-Motor 1203s have plenty of power. I got one quick battery in on this, and it's awesome. Good God. I'm kind of blown away by this. I screwed up a little bit on the build, and I oriented the flight controller in a way, the VTX in a way that my USB-C port is not accessible. It's just me being a dum-dum. So the flight footage is stuck on here at the moment. I would have to pull the top plate off and then lift the VTX up to get plugged in. I guess I have the flight footage on the goggle DVR. We can maybe take a look at it. But yeah, this thing needs a little bit of love. But initial impressions of these 1203 7000s on 3S are wild. Even on a battery that's like not really all that good. A current gen. This battery, I think I've had this battery for 7 or 8 years, and it's just been sitting at storage voltage. Well, I thought it was sitting at storage voltage. I plugged it in the other day, and one of the cells was at 0. So I kind of jump-started it on the parallel board, and I charged it back up, and the internal resistances are actually not too bad, but this is not a great battery. A GNB 300, 350, or 380 is going to probably outperform this. So, yeah, more coming on this guy. But initial impressions are that 3S has made a massive difference on this thing, which I'm really, really happy with. And this JHE MCU AIO that I put in here, which is a 20 amp 2S to 4S, has also been totally trouble free, and it's working great. So yeah, Caillou Mini is back. It just needs to get dialed in a little bit. It needs a slightly longer battery strap. I need to fix the orientation of the VTX. And then, yeah, I'll start flying it some more. So excited by that. Put you here, little friend, so I don't forget about you. Off Axis from up in Canada, very kindly. So there's an FPV reseller up in Canada called Rotor Village, and they have some stuff that nobody else has. And I said, "Yo, Off Axis, you're my Canadian FPV Sherpa. Any chance you can order a couple things and then ship them to me? Just let me know what the shipping costs." And Off Axis very kindly said, "You know what? You do a lot for the community. I'll just hook you up. Tell me what you want, and I'll send it to you." So super cool of him. I had him snag a GetBarC AIO for me that only they have. This is the GetBarC Taker F405 20 amp 2 to 4S. I'm going to be playing around with some more 3S kind of setups, and so I have the JHE MCU 2 to 4S 20 amp in there. Now I've got the GetBarC. If that one blows up, I'll swap this one in, see how much longer this one lasts. If that one doesn't blow up, I'm just going to use this on another build. I'm not sure what it is quite yet, but it's going to be a 3S build. So yeah, very, very cool. They also had they had the old school Flywoo 04 wide UV filter, ND filters rather. Unbelievably, between the Flywoo wide and the DJI wide, which look completely identical, they did change the size of the housing a little bit, and so the ND filters are not compatible between one and the other. For the record, they also changed the screw mounting here. This uses M1.4 or M1.6 screws. This is the Flywoo old school wide. The DJI 04 wide uses M2 screws, which is actually really, really nice. And this Meteor75 Pro 2 is set up for the DJI. When I put this Flywoo wide in here, the camera would just move around. I actually had to put, because these slots are designed for M2 screws for the DJI 04 wide, I actually had to E6000 these smaller screws in here that the old school Flywoo wide uses in order for this to lock the up tilt in on this camera, which is kind of ridiculous, but is what it is. I also had Off Axis get me some propellers that only Rotor Village sells, other than getting them direct from the manufacturer, which are some HQ 3.5 by 2.8 M5 mount only propellers for the Siren A F35, and then for my frame, some HQT 3 by 2.9, really, really pitchy 3-inch props. So thank you for that as well, Off Axis. And then unexpectedly, he threw in one of Rotor Village's frames with some awesome notes, as always. This is a small yeet, or a small yeet. I don't know. SMOL? Are you supposed to just say it as small, or is it small? I'm going to pronounce it small because I'm 45 years old. And I ain't got time for this shit. But yeah, this is a small yeet. I don't really know much about this frame. It's a 3.5-inch frame. I kind of dig it, though. It's got not much of a butt on it. It's just got a little butt. So it's mainly meant for doing like either an analog VTX in the back here, or doing some kind of a stack, like a Where are the 25 by 25 mount holes? I gotta read up on this. I gotta read up on this frame, but it's a cool looking little 3.5-inch frame with a big front area for a big old front camera. I'm not sure what camera this is designed for. Let's, you know what? Hold on. Let's actually hop onto their website real quick. I bet you I can just search for small Yeet 3.5. Let me see what that search finds. Hey, so there it is. So yeah, what's the intended setup here? We recommend either adding got that fatter batteries. The Yeet Mule's baby brother, the small Yeet. Enjoy HD epicness. Okay, so it is meant for HD. If running HD, only use the naked style camera that is light. This is intended to carry. This is not intended to carry a full-size GoPro. Okay, yeah, we knew that. Oh, look at this. DJI 04 Pro conversion kit available. Give me a picture of it. Okay, so it's just a set of TPU. How would you put an 04 Pro in this thing? For the Pro, not for the Lite. Interesting. Okay, so there must be a way of doing it. Recommended components. Ah, sweet. Okay. Do we have a, tell me we've got a, no! We do not have a picture of the build here. Do we here? Maybe in this build guide? Hold on, let's see real quick. Pause. No, don't play. Okay. Laying out the components. Piecing just the frame together. Okay. Just piecing the frame together. So, yeah, I need a couple pictures. I wonder if Rotor Builds... Hold on. Small Yeet 35. So... Rotor Builds is an amazing website. I wish people still used it. People used to use Rotor Builds a lot, but man, people have stopped using this website, which is a shame because, damn. What if I put spaces? It is super helpful to see people build these things out. But, alas, there are no small Yeet 35s on here. What if I just do a Google image search? Google Images. Hey, is that one? That's one. Okay. So this guy did an analog. Is that an analog build? Or is that a Vista build? Oh, I see it. I'm not a smart person. So I built this thing with the arms inside, which is something that I like doing if I can on a solid base plate build to give myself more room. Sorry, it's over here. More room for the camera. And when I did that, I thought that we would be mounting the AIO here, sort of in the middle. That's not right. It's pretty obvious. I just wasn't looking at it correctly. So here is one set of... There we go. Here's one full set of mounting holes on the inside of my fingers. And then if you slide back the frame a little bit, here's another set. And so you wouldn't... I guess you could use those with the arms inside the frame like this, but... You'd have to use some serious spacers in the back. You'd have to use serious spacers on either side. Maybe I'll still do that. But, yeah. Vista 03, 04 Pro. It even looks like this is a big old spot up front, which can probably eat just barely an 04 Pro. Just like that. So, very, very cool. Very cool little frame. My take on this frame... is that if you want to do a 04, if you want to do a build with a 20 by 20 big old VTX Vista 03, 04 Pro, this is probably going to be one of, if not your most lightweight option in order to do that. The Siren A F35 is a very heavy frame and build. So if you're looking to like be closer to sub 250, that's going to be this. This is a really interesting looking frame. I can guarantee you it's not going to be as strong as the Siren AF35, but it's certainly going to be a lot lighter, and it might be just strong enough. The carbon fiber is going in the correct direction on the arms, and then the carbon fiber is also going the correct direction on the base plate and the top plate. So yeah, Rotor Village had somebody that knows what they're doing design this frame. It's got a central locking piece, which everybody is kind of doing nowadays to lock the arms together. And yeah, is that a square frame? Hold on. Is this a True X frame? Surely not. Nobody does True X frames anymore. No, it's not. But it's not. It's also not Super Squished X either. See the gap? There's a big gap here between the arms. Like, if to make a freestyle frame that's like super durable and as light as possible, you'll kill this gap here, and the arms front and rear get closer together like that. And that's where you have a frame that's like very Squished X. Like the front and back are as close together as possible, and then the left and right kind of are what they are. You got to put the left and right wide enough to not hit the standoffs. And so I like that they've spaced this out in the middle a little bit to pull the front and rear motors apart a little bit. That's really smart. Because the pitch axis is where we need most of our authority and jam, because that's where we put all of our weight, right? We put the camera all the way up front, and then we slide the battery back to offset the nose heaviness of the camera. And so the pitch axis, we actually want as much distance between the motors on the pitch axis as possible. The problem with doing that is if you keep sliding these arms forward, you get a whole bunch of prop in view. And so there's limits. But yeah, this frame looks super interesting. Off Axis, thank you so much, brother. Very kind of you to send this order with some very fun extras. Super cool, man. Appreciate it. And then the last mailbag item. By the way, I stole that little mailbag intro thing from Mighty Car Mods. Go subscribe to their channel. They're amazing. This is my package from AliExpress. This was $1, and it was supposed to be the 90-degree motor plugs. And as you can see, it most certainly is not. I got what I paid for. I paid $1, and they sent me something that I can't use. So I don't know if for some reason, if you need 9-pin JST 1.25s, let me know. But you got to hurry up and let me know, because this is literally going in the garbage, because it only cost me $1, and we don't use those 9 pins for absolutely anything. So yeah, I think maybe I'll try to order again. Now the plugs these are the right angle plugs that I've been using on these itty bitty AIOs, on these little open prop builds, so that I can plug the motors in, which lets me test a lot of different motors. And also, it's, in my opinion, just kind of better, because it makes replacing the motors easier and less of a pain in the ass. And once you get up to 2S, which I am on all these, the motor plugs have even less of a negative effect, right? In the same way that, like, when we go up in voltage, the amps and the resistance tend to come down. And so, yeah, having these things on motor plugs has been completely fine. No issues. So, yeah, talked about that. Let's dive back into the Meteor75 Pro 204 wide light. Like I said earlier, I am staggered at how good this thing flies. I think that's coming from them making a bunch of really intelligent design decisions here. First and foremost is these motors. They've done something to these 1102 motors. Their 1102 motors have always been really good. They've always had them in 22,000 kV for 1S, 18,000 and 14, it's either 14 or 15,000 kV for 2S. I've loved the 18,000 kV motors, 1102s, with these Gemfan 1610 biblades. Just awesome. These props are super durable. 1.6 inch builds like this are as light as you can get, like something that's competent outside, but can also, yes, it can fly inside. Again, it's a little too big and heavy for hard indoor flying, but this thing is just absolutely brilliant with these BetaFPV 1102. 18,000s on 2S with, I think, a little, like maybe a 90% motor limit, but you can run them at 100%, it's fine. These new BetaFPV 1102s are 21,000 kV for 1S, which initially was a super letdown because we need more kV, not less. But they have paired them, usually, like I say, and I would still rather them be higher kV. I would rather them be 25,000 kV so that we could run biblades, because I think on these outdoor rigs, biblades are what we want. But these motors are making really good power, especially when they're paired with these new Gemfan 1811 propellers. 1.8 inches diameter, 1.1 pitch. That is a fairly low pitch, but it's a tri-blade. And it's also really lightweight, which I like. I like that these props are lightweight when I'm in the air. I don't like that when I start crashing, because these blades bend up very, very easily. What's nice, though, is that these blades so far have been bending. They haven't been breaking. The other... All right, so we're just going to dive straight in to 1.8 inch props, since I'm at that point here. Real quick, though, the other really intelligent decision that I think they've made is they made this duct, they made the thickness, the height of this duct very, very narrow. On pretty much all of the Happy Model frames, this duct is very thick, which I love for really in tight flying. Like when I drop down in the garden and I'm going in between a bush and in through the middle of some of the bushes, and like, I love this nice tall duct for slower flying or for indoor flying. But these things are for flying outside, and I'm willing to sacrifice that thick duct because I don't get super in the, you know, in the garden all that often. Usually when you're flying outside, you're flying bigger, and the thinner duct here makes a big difference, because how do we fly? We fly like this, right? And so the thicker this is, the more just battering ram it's going to be. And so yeah, these two new frames, the 65 Pro 2 and 75 Pro 2 frames, I love that they did this. And so that's the motors, the props, and then this new frame are the three biggest things that I think really help this out, because like this canopy is a little bit heavier, this wide camera is a little bit heavier. There's a lot of things when I was looking at this, when I was looking at the specs of this, where I was like, ooh, this thing ain't gonna be great. But yeah, they've really done a hell of a job on the frame, motor, and prop selection here. So let's talk about props. And we're going to talk about like your sort of upgrade path for this thing, essentially, is what we're getting into. Because props are always the best and easiest way to upgrade a build. And they are a legitimate upgrade, right? Like, let's not split hairs about what is considered an upgrade. Where the hell did the window go? Here it is. So here are all of the 1.8 inch prop options for you. We're going to start with HQ. HQ's ultralight propellers. You can always tell that they're the ultralight propellers because of the hubs. They've got these itty bitty little hubs on them, which is one of the reasons why they're so lightweight. But this tiny little hub on the propeller is also the HQ props Achilles tendon, because they blow up. All of these, I've tested all of these HQ ultralight props in 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 inch diameter, and the hubs all blow up. You can make them last longer if you drill the propellers out to be perfect for whatever motor they're going on. These little hubs are fragile, and the inner diameter is a little bit too small for most motors. And so when you push these things onto the motors, that the metal motor shaft is pushing out on the hub. And that, I think, is a big part of the reason that these hubs will fracture and then crack and explode. And when the hubs explode, you lose all the blades, and you might never get that build back, because with one propeller completely missing, you can do that little dance and you can like flip it over and then tumble it on the turtle mode and then flip it over, but you can't take back off. And so if it's on a rooftop, like hung up, and there's like something physically blocking it that you can't turtle mode and cartwheel it over, you're done. And so flying outside with these HQ ultralight props, I love the way that they perform, but it feels like every couple crashes they blow up. I have been able to make it better. On my Etsy store, which is linked on CiottiFPV.com, which is where you can go to support me and keep this thing alive. It is extremely hard to do this. Yeah, and it's looking like I'm probably going to need to get a day job, which is going to cut 4 live streams down a week down to like 1 or 2. On my Etsy store, you can get 0.99 and 1.49 millimeter drill bits. You can even get this really cool little pin vise that'll hold both of the drill bits. They'll just make your life a lot easier. With these drill bits, you can drill these ultralight propellers out a little bit and open up that inner diameter. You don't want to do it too much because then the prop will fly off. And so it takes a little bit of trial and error. You'll figure it out. You put try to put the propeller onto the motor. If you're having to push really, really hard, stop. Take it off. Run it down the appropriate drill bit once. Try to put it back on. If it's still really, really difficult, take it off. Run it down there again. Every single motor has a slightly different, unfortunately, every motor manufacturer, I should say, has a slightly different width, outer diameter of their motor shaft. Some of them are 1.01, some of them are 0.99, some of them are 1.03, some of them are 1.50, 1.52, 1.48. Each motor manufacturer has a very slightly different width of their motor shaft, which is why we have to custom drill these props out. And so it's like per craft, every single set of motors, when you're putting a propeller on, if you're starting to push really hard on that propeller, stop. You're either going to put too much stress on the hub of the propeller and the propeller is going to explode, or even better, you're going to ruin the motor because you're going to push that motor shaft down through the motor bell, and now you're going to have a slipped motor shaft. And so drilling these propellers out is actually like really important. And it's one of the ways that I've gotten so much more durability in tiny whoops in general between the motors and the propellers. It doesn't fix these HQ propellers. These are still going to blow up. This hub is still like, sometimes these hubs are even like pre-cracked when I get them out of like a fresh set of these. There'll be like a little hairline crack in the hub already. It doesn't fix the situation, but it does improve the situation. And so if you're going to run these HQ props, either only fly it somewhere that is recoverable, like out in front of your house, out behind your house. Don't go over your neighbor's roof or anything like that. Don't go above trees, right? Or like I said, you can make the durability a little bit better by drilling them out, but these are going to blow up, which is such a shame because they are ultra light, and so they fly unbelievable. And they're better balanced than the GemFan props, almost across the board. I have not tested these GemFan 1811s yet. I have not gotten any black box logs to see how the balance is. That's coming for sure. But I have tested so many of these tiny whoop props, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2.0, 2.5. And almost 100% of the time, the HQ props are a little bit better balanced than the GemFan props. Some props are just horribly balanced. Those are kind of the outliers. There's almost always, like, in each prop size, like a good GemFan prop that's well balanced enough for most folks' PID tunes. But then, like, it's like every single time I test the HQ prop that's in that same sort of size and pitch, and it's just a little bit better. And almost always, these HQ ultralight props are lighter weight. And the lighter weight the propeller, the better the response time, the better the PID loop works. Kind of everything gets better when the props get lighter, except for durability. GemFan is the sort of the king of durability when it comes to these tiny propellers. HQ is the king of balance and lightweight. But interestingly, these GemFan 1811 props, and to be honest, all of the new GemFan props that have come out over the last couple months, they are as lightweight as the HQ props, with hubs that don't blow up. But the propeller blades bend easier than the HQ props do. So there's the full kind of story. And so we're talking about, like, these 18, we're going to look at the GemFan 1.8 inch props in a second, but we're also talking about the GemFan 1207s, their new 1.2 inch prop. Super lightweight, perform amazing because they're lightweight, but the propeller blades are weak. And so you crash a couple times and you'll have a couple blades that are bent up. You can just go in there and push them back down. If you really carefully hold this thing, like brace it against the desk so that the angle doesn't change, right? And you got to get yourself sitting comfortable, and you got to look at, so I'm going to try to show you here. All right, so you're going to look at where the propeller blade is riding around the duct. And what you can do is just change the angle a little bit so that the propeller blade is even with a point, and then spin it. Look at where that blade is, and then you spin it. You look at where this blade is, and then you spin it, and you look where that blade is. And I think what we're seeing is this middle blade is a little too high. I think that one's showing up. And so you just sit there, and you can get it and bend them back down, and then you can keep flying it. I would rather have propellers that are a little bit heavier, where it's the joint between the blade and the hub. This is the problem. You can take that area between the blade and the hub, and if you just run the blade straight into the hub with like a right angle like this, it's not going to be very strong. What you got to do is round it off on the top and the bottom. You got to, like, take that blade material and then, like, blow it up so that it meets with the blade, and that makes that point a lot stronger. And what's interesting is HQ has done that. The HQ ultralight props, the blades themselves don't typically bend, which is amazing because you can just crash the living shit out of them and you don't have to bend the blades back all the time. But then the hub explodes and the whole propeller is gone, and now you're screwed. So we have this funny situation, as always, in FPV, specifically in the micro FPV world, where, like, there's this one option that does a couple things really good, and there's another option that does a couple things really good. We don't have, like, that one perfect product. But we at least have choice. We used to not have choice. We used to have only propellers that were wildly out of balance and didn't fly worth a shit. Now we've got a bunch of different propellers that are either beautifully balanced or balanced well enough to get a rockin' PID tune, and away we go. So let's talk about propellers. Now you understand the difference between HQ and GemFan. HQ props, there's a chance that you'll lose the entire rig because the hubs are going to explode. GemFan props tend to not perform quite as well. You're going to have to, with these newer ones, you're going to have to bend blades back really often, but at least you're not going to lose the whole build. So here's the full gamut of 1.8 inch propellers. These 1.8 by 1.4 bi-blades are my absolute favorites. I love bi-blades for these outdoor whoops. These bigger whoops are outdoor whoops. The bi-blades make it more slippery. If you go to corner and you, like, all right, no. Let's say you want to throw this thing through the air. Let's say you want to invert and carry as much momentum as you can because it looks super cool. So you're going to be flying like this. Look at those 3 blades. That's a bunch of plastic that's going to slow it down. No, because we're driving forward. Well, now we just went inverted and we chopped the throttle. And so 3 blades is more plastic to slow this thing down. Let's say you're coming in here to do a corner, but you want to like let it slide sideways a bunch. When it's sliding sideways, 3 blades are going to block more of the air, so it's going to slow down more. So the 3 blades are going to be more grippy, but we don't necessarily want that grip outside. Outside, we want more slidiness. That's why we tend to fly these open prop builds outside, because of how slidey they are, right? And so for outdoor stuff, I really prefer running bi-blades on here, but these bi-blades break even when I drill them out every other hard crash. Sometimes every hard crash, and that's just, I just can't do it. I'm gonna leave one of these things on a roof or in a tree or somewhere, and so if you're gonna run these props, don't fly unrecoverable. Also, with these propellers, you need RPM. You need all kinds of RPM, actually. And these new BetaFPV 1102 21,000 kV motors, I do not think they're going to have quite enough RPM for these propellers. But I could be wrong, because these bi-blades are quite a bit more pitchy than these tri-blades. These tri-blades are 1.1 pitch. So each propeller blade will travel 1.1 inches, I believe it is, with per revolution. These bi-blades, each blade is 1.4. One of the problems here, though, is that I can almost guarantee you that GemFan's method of testing and rating pitch is different than HQ. That's certainly been what I've noticed flying all of these propellers for years and years and years and years, is that if you manage to find a GemFan and an HQ prop that are the exact same pitch, they do not perform identical in terms of pitch. I've never noticed like HQs being underrated or overrated, or GemFans being under or overrated. It's just different. So it's not a fair comparison to just say, oh, well, these bi-blades are 1.4 pitch, so yeah, only 2 blades, but extra pitch, versus these 1.1 pitch with tri-blades. These tri-blades, I can almost guarantee you, are still going to do better on a lower RPM motor like these. If you want to run these propellers for maximum slidiness outside, or these are also going to do better in the wind, right? You're flying this thing along and the wind hits it like this. The wind is going to hit the propeller blades, and the more propeller blades, the more the wind is going to push it. So if you wanted to build like the ultimate outdoor, or if it's just windy by you, right? These propellers with the Gepar C 1002 25,000 kV motors versus these are only 21,000, that's probably going to be the combo for you. I've done that combo before and it's awesome. And so that would be the ultimate kind of setup, I think, for flying this thing in the wind. I am going to test those motors on here. We are going to look at the RPM differences, just not tonight. So more to come there. But again, do not crash these propellers hard. They will break. All of these HQ propellers will break. Now we get into HQ ultralight tri-blades. These are a little known HQ ultralight tri-blade. You can only get them from iFlight, and they are a 0.9 pitch. So if you're desperate for a 1.8 inch propeller that's 0.9 inches of pitch, here's what they are. They're in an unbelievable, with unbelievable insanity. These are called, and these were put on the Defender 16. I just like, FPV is so hard. It's so hard for so many reasons. One of the reasons is that the manufacturers just do stuff like this. Like they make a bind and fly called 16, as in 1.6 inch props, but then they put 1.8 inch props on it. Stop it. So yeah, that's what you have to search for to find these propellers. These are Defender 16 props. You can't even get these on HQ's website. Okay, they're gone forever. No, they're not. Next up are the HQ 1.8 by 1.2. Pretty big jump in pitch there from 0.9 to 1.2. Higher pitch makes more thrust, but it's also more draggy. So on like a really small motor that's really high kV, you actually want a lower pitch prop. But yeah, if you have enough motor, if the motor is big enough and grunty enough, these higher pitch props will make more power. So yeah, you can get these HQ 1.8 by 1.2s anywhere. This is a great prop, but again, fragile propeller. The hubs are going to blow up even if you drill them out. If you drill them out, they will be a little bit better though. And then last but not least, we've got the HQ 1.8 by 1.3. Not much of a difference between 1.2 pitch. Where did it go? Why did that happen? Not much of a difference in pitch between the one that we just looked at, but I hope you noticed the blade design is different here. The hub is still the same tiny little hub, but this is a much more substantial blade on here. And so even though the pitch has only gone from 1.2 to 1.3 here, I guarantee you this propeller is going to do better on a lower kV motor and or a bigger stator volume motor because of that bigger, beefier propeller. The bigger, beefier blade here. Okay, HQ's website just went down. That's cool. Luckily, we're done looking at the HQ props. So yeah, if to be honest, like these propellers are so cheap. If you're going to go down the 1.8 inch rabbit hole, just get a couple sets of either one of these. But realistically, these 1.3 pitch are going to be heavier, and so bigger stator volume motor, maybe even lesser kV is where you would want to go. But these will be very similar. The 1.2 versus the 1.3 pitch are going to be very, very similar. Oh, and last but not least is these quad blades. These are going to be like infinitely grippy. These are going to be quieter. I think the quietness of adding an extra blade is going to be the reason that you get these propellers, or like if you're on a desperately low kV motor, but it's got to be a big enough motor, right? This is now getting heavier and draggier. And so, you know, with propellers, the reason why I always recommend them like first as your first like upgrade or change is that you can really fix a lot of problems with propellers. Motor is a little bit too big of a stator volume or a little bit too low of a kV, more blades. The quad is too loud, more blades. The motor is too small or the kV is too high, less blades, lower pitch. Right? Like you can fix, sort of band-aid, some problems with your drivetrain, with the propellers themselves. There are going to be impacts to that, though. I want to be quieter. Okay, I go up to a 4-blade. Well, now it's going to not slide at all. It's going to be really grippy. And so, like, if you want it to be quieter, but you also want it to be more slidey, you're not going to do that by going up to a 4-blade prop, right? And so you got to... Yeah, there's unintended consequences with some of these changes. But, boy, you can do a lot with propeller tuning. Now we're on the Gem Fan. These are Gem Fan's old 1.8 inch or 45 millimeter propellers. They've got a bi-blade, which I love that they have a bi-blade. Unfortunately, these are not very well balanced, so you will not be able to get a great PID tune with these propellers. I also did not find these to be all that durable, but at least the hub doesn't explode. The propeller blades just bend all up. And so I don't love these, mainly because they're just not balanced enough to get a good enough PID tune. But yeah, if you're desperate for a bi-blade that doesn't explode, this is the one. Then we've got the other old school GemFan prop here, which is 45 millimeter, and then they don't even tell you the pitch. If you dig into it on their website, here's the pitch, 1.5. This is also not a very well-balanced propeller, but it's pitchy as hell. That 1.5 pitch is a lot. So if you want the most pitchy tri-blade you can get, this is the one. The more interesting, I'm sorry, it's not the most pitchy anymore, because now we've got this 1816. So this propeller, dead to me. I don't recommend you get this propeller because I guess unless you want the durability. If you want a lot of pitch and more durability potentially than what you're going to get from this 1.6, 1.8 by 1.6, that might be a good deal. Although I don't think that's true, because this looks, and I know that sucks to say, but I can just tell the joint between the propeller and the blade here is really rounded off. You see how they've really rounded that joint between the prop and the hub, the blade and the hub? Look at the difference between that and the 1811 that is bending up really easily, and you'll see exactly what I mean. See, it's just like a straight line. The blade just goes straight into the hub, and that's where these are bending. They're bending right at that joint. This is a problem HQ used to have a long time ago with their V1S propellers. They didn't round that out enough, and the blades would bend like crazy at the hub. That's what's happening on these 1811s. I'll bet you that will not happen on these 1816s, just because I can see it in the picture. I can't guarantee that. I haven't got my hand on these yet, but I'm willing to bet. And with that being said, what that basically means is just don't run these, ever. You shouldn't run these anyway because they're out of balance and it's super annoying. You're going to have to cripple your PID tune. But yeah, the two brand new GemFan 1.8 inch props are these 1811s, which is what this thing is on, which I am blown away by how good they are paired with these motors. And I didn't even know about these 1816s, but I'm actually really excited about these. These could be even better. They'll definitely be more durable. Well, not definitely, but I can almost guarantee you they'll be more durable, which is the main problem I have with these 1811s. And 21,000 kV is not that much on 1S, and so I bet you these will even wake this thing up a little bit more. The only problem with these props is they're almost certainly going to be quite a bit heavier. Weight 0.5 of a gram. The 1811, oh god, yeah, big difference. 0.5 of a gram versus 0.32 of a gram. So these 1811s, the response time is awesome. The PID loop works great. They perform really, really, really well. If you want more durability or more power, the 1816 is going to do that. But your response time is going to take a hit, so the PID loop is not going to work as well. And then just the responsiveness. You're going to move the sticks, and it's not going to be as crisp to respond to you. But you're going to potentially gain more power, definitely more speed because they're more pitchy. Speed as in like covering ground speed, and you'll almost certainly get a bunch more durability from these. I have not seen these for sale anywhere. I've also not started looking for these for sale anywhere. I guess we can just do that real quick. Maybe Amazon, maybe eBay. There was an eBay listing, but then it just disappeared. No, yeah, so they might be a little hard to find at the moment. If anybody knows where to find these GemFan 1816s, please let me know, because that's a pretty exciting propeller right there. That could be really good. If this prop is well balanced, this could be a bit of a game changer 1.8 inch prop. These 1811s are really good, but personally, I'm gonna get sick and tired of bending these blades back straight. And the blades are getting bent up in not really hard crashes. Here are those crashes. Here are all the batteries that I flew on this thing today. I should have been, God damn it, I should have been playing these already. Oh, shit. No, I'm going to hit you with the build tips first. Build tips first. So, on the very first battery that I flew, just like really quick inside the house, here's what it took. Here are the crashes that it took to rip the entire canopy off the frame, which is not good. And so this was a couple of days ago, right before the live stream. I just wanted to have some flight footage. So there's one. So what do we got? This is, I know it's dark, but like I bumped into the ceiling. So that's like an 8-foot drop there. Bumped the ceiling, it turned sideways, and it fell to the ground. It's still okay though, but I'm sure that moved the grommets, the rubber grommets a little bit. Now we're going upstairs, and we have a much more, so a little bump there, and we have a much more significant crash up here, which is into the railing. And so I came up here and come down and bang. That was a much more significant crash. Now it's a mess. It's vibrating all over the place. So at least one of the rubber grommets has now popped out. I then limped the thing downstairs. I don't know why the computer is doing this to me again. And we had another crash where it kind of stuck to the wall and then kind of fell down. And that crash there ripped the entire canopy off. All 4 rubber grommets completely off of this thing. That right there, I think, is going to be the biggest problem. The way, whenever you do this, whenever you put cameras on the rubber grommets, you can't like hold these rubber grommets in any kind of like a positive way, because then it'll limit their range of motion. And so what I've done, which seems to have worked, because I hammered this thing pretty good today, is I just used E6000 to close up the little openings. Let me grab this camera, see if this will show it a little bit better. Put it on a gray background. And so in both the frame and the canopy, you've got these slits. You have to have those slits because that's how the grommets go in. And so basically what I did is I just put the grommets in and then used E6000 to close the slits up. E6000 is great because you can peel it off. It's also called welder sometimes. It peels off in one big chunk, similar to hot glue, but even easier to deal with than hot glue. And so I just put little dabs of E6000 on all 4 of the canopy ones. You got to do those first, and then I let it cure overnight, and then I put the rubber grommets into the frame itself, and then I did all 4 on the frame. Admittedly, this now sucks to work on, because every single time I want to pull this canopy off to do anything on this, I'm going to have to peel that E6000 out of there, get the grommet out, put it all back together, and then re-E6000 and let it cure overnight. So yeah, serviceability is going to kind of suck, but a rig like this, you're not going to be servicing that much. This is never going to be a basher. Even with that E6000, you crash this thing hard, it'll rip those grommets right out of there, no problem. And so this will never be a basher. So hopefully that won't be that big of an issue. The other upgrade, of course, is going to be a good quality antenna. I really love these ORT Micro Vs. These are significantly better than whip antennas, but they're just as lightweight and they're just as durable, if not even more durable. I have these in a bunch of different colors on my Etsy store. If you like what I'm doing, you would like to support me, it's a great way to support me, is to buy one of these antennas. They are in a specific length, which is 46 millimeters. You can get them elsewhere in 40 and in 50. The 46, 45 millimeters is like perfect for these Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop builds in this specific canopy, but they also work elsewhere. And they have a little bit of extra shrink wrap here at the only possible weak point. It makes it a little bit stronger. So yeah, good quality antenna absolutely makes a difference. Different cable from the AIO to the 04 Lite. The cable that this comes with is really, really short, and that works, but it limits the orientation of the VTX because of how short it is. I wanted to mount the VTX backwards so that I could run the AIO backwards with my battery lead running out the front. What that allows me to do, and I'll show you with a big ass 580 battery, this thing is nose heavy because of this big heavy camera front of the center line. And so it's nose heavy. That's going to overwork the front motors. Well, now with the regular battery orientation, now you put your battery in here and more of your battery sits on the front. And so now you've really overloaded the front of this thing. So you rotate it around, and you got to go into the configuration tab, and you got to rotate on yaw 180 degrees. The default setting was 270, so I changed that to 90. And then you got to reorder the motors 1, 2, 3, and 4. So go to the motors tab and the wizards. You got to do both wizards, the motor location and the motor direction wizards. And that's it. That's all you have to do to run this thing backwards. And so now when I put the battery in here, I put more battery weight on the back, which offsets the camera weight on the front. And so now the pitch axis has the same amount of weight spread, right? Like if I had this battery pushed forward, it's the same amount of weight that's being pushed off center here, but we've got it much more well balanced, so the front motors won't get overworked. The rear motors will do their fair share of the work. And so that is a big, I think that's going to be like the most important thing that you do in terms of your build. And even if you buy a bind and fly, I think you should do that. Depending on how you rotate your VTX, because you can put this VTX in here in a bunch of different orientations. I just chose this specific orientation because of where it puts the USB port. Puts the USB port right back here. You have to run a longer cable, but I like running this longer cable anyway. This is the regular old cable that you get with an 04 light. It's the multicolored cable, and it's the perfect length for you to run it underneath of the AIO. And so the exit point, the plug header, is right here. And then you go down instead of in between these two boards. You go down, and then it goes diagonally back, and then it comes up in the back corner here. And then you just plug it straight in there. Your USB-C is super easy to get to here. And that's a much better setup, in my opinion, than the shorter cable. The other thing that I did is they give you really short little screws to mount your VTX to the canopy. I put little BetaFPV rubber grommets in there, and I used slightly longer screws. I didn't like the idea of putting a metal screw into the metal VTX. I'm sure that it would be totally fine. Sorry, headphone users, although your head just exploded, so you're all dead and you can't hear me. Yeah, I just like the idea of having a little bit of isolation there. That's it. That's all I did. And I didn't fly it before I did those things because it came... They didn't send it to me as a bind and fly. They sent it to me without the 04. A manufacturer sending out 04s is insane. Most of them don't do that. So I don't know how much those things helped, but there's no reason to not do those things. Those things are all... I've done all those things because I've been flying these for a decade. And so, like, if there was no reason to do them, I wouldn't do them. Another good thing to do would be to use contact enhancer. We're getting between 4 and 6% better power and efficiency from liquid contact enhancer. It's called Stabilant 22. You can buy yourself a giant bottle of it for $50 and you'll never use all of it, or you can go to my Etsy store and you can pay like, I think it's like 14 or 15 bucks for a little vial of it with 0.5 of a mil that'll last forever. This stuff is kind of magic. It's easy to apply. You take, what I do is I literally take the cap of this thing. You're not going to get it in this same container. It's a different container, but I take the cap, I flip it over, I put one drop. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you. One single drop into the inside of the lid. I take my fine-tipped tweezers, I dip it down in there, they get all wet, and I go onto the contacts. 1, 2, 3. I dip it back in the lid, go to the next motor. 1, 2, 3. The contacts are so small that you need like a nothing amount of this liquid, and so 0.5 of a mil will last you forever. And yeah, those are the upgrades I think you should do. I am really impressed. Like I said, I have the flywheel wide, so I have these smaller screws here, and I had to E6000 them in. This is meant for the DJI-04 wide, and that has the M2 screws here, and so you won't have that issue. Other than that, yeah, super, super, super impressed. Here comes the actual flying that I did with this thing. The first battery here is on the Tattoo 450 mAh. That's a little bit lighter, but does sag a little bit worse. You know what? That flight footage doesn't really do us any good. Also, the computer is completely shitting its pants. YouTube has had a horrible memory leak forever, and when you live stream, it eats up all the memory on your computer, and it's really, really bad. But then eventually, YouTube crashes, and it clears that out. Unfortunately, there's no way to clear it out without it crashing, so I just have to sort of sit here and wait for YouTube to crash. It's really good at crashing, and so we'll get there. But for a little bit longer here, it's going to be very stuttery. Send YouTube a strongly worded letter and let them know that they need to fix their goddamn live streaming service, because it is a joke. It is truly a joke. We are going to look at the goggle DVR footage so that you guys can look at the OSD. And so let's come in here and all right, let me go back a little bit. So here's the indoor short flight, right, with those couple of crashes. Awesome. All right, so here is the first battery on, with not the best battery in the world. That little Tattoo 450 is a little bit lighter, 0.2, 0.3 of a gram lighter, but it is kind of saggy, and you're going to see that. Although, actually, hold on. Let me open it up in here so that I can make it a little bit wider. And awesome. All right, cool. So you guys should have all of the OSD, and make it just a little bit smaller so you can see the number there. All right, so I'm seeing like mid 20s amps, like 23 I think I saw a second ago amps. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Come on now. Okay, there it goes. It just flies good, man. It just flies good. It flies like a whoop outside, for sure. It absolutely does not fly like any of these open prop builds. And so get out of your head doing like an inverted throw across like 3 of your neighbors' houses. It's just not going to do it. None of these whoop framed rigs are ever going to do that. They are just not aerodynamic enough. But that's okay, because these do all kinds of other stuff that, oh, this is just unbelievable. This isn't going to work. I need YouTube to crash. How do I get YouTube to crash? Oh, God. All right, well, we already looked at all of these. I can close this out. Typically when I just do this, it doesn't do anything, but we got to try it because it's the whole computer is about to melt into the ground because of how bad this is. Oh boy, this is really, really bad. Wow. You're joking. It like eats up all this memory, and it like doesn't give it back until it crashes. Yeah, see, it's still. Oh, for fuck's sake, man! It's just so embarrassing. It's like YouTube is so embarrassing. Oh my god. Yeah, this is just. Oh my god, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. Can you just fuck off? Um Maybe if I force let me try force quitting Brave. And I do have a lot of tabs open, but Brave is really good at not loading those tabs. And when I'm not live streaming, everything runs absolutely fine. So the problem is not a lot of tabs opened. Okay, yeah, this guy goes over here, and then where's that other window? Tell me I didn't just lose an entire fucking window. Oh, motherfucker, I think I did. I did indeed. I lost an entire window of tabs. You fucking bastard. Hang on. Oh, hey, here we go. Here, hold on. Dr. K's guide. No, that's not it. That one. Cockroach. Oh, maybe I didn't. No, I did. Hope I didn't have anything important opened up in that window, because it's gone. That's why I don't like to. That sucks, dude. That really sucks. Just trying to think of what I had open in that window. Well, you know what? I can probably go back and watch this live stream and see what a bunch of those tabs were. Window had a bunch of the job searches that I was doing too. That fucking sucks, dude. God damn it. Yeah, now it's just gone. All right, well, nothing I can do about it. Oh, you bastard. Okay. New window. We can at least get the live stream back up here. And hopefully, hey, look at that. Now it's running fine. Now it is running fine. My workaround has been Social Stream, but Social Stream stopped working a couple of months ago. Like when the chat opens up, it's white text on a white background, and there's no way to fix it. It's maddening. All right, so. I just gotta get to live chat. So I also lost pretty much the entire chat. Daytona Jim, thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. Very, very cool of you. I don't really have time to read through the chat anyway, so hopefully you guys have been talking amongst yourselves. I hate to do it. I absolutely hate to not read through the chat, but sometimes when I have a lot of stuff to get through, that's just what happens. So I apologize for that. Any other live stream, I get through every single chat comment where you guys tag me, but tonight ain't the night. You can, again, send a strongly worded letter to YouTube and tell them to fix their goddamn live streaming service that hundreds of thousands of live streamers use, some of which, you know, make their entire career off of it. It's absurd how outrageously bad it is. Back to the flight footage, though. This is the smallest battery that I flew. This is also basically the maiden. The 04 wide is just so goddamn good. The extra bit of field of view over the 04 light narrow makes flying more aggressive freestyle so much more realistic. It's mainly just the vertical field of view. The extra vertical field of view allows you to put the nose down farther and just go faster. I have the camera set on its lowest up tilt for this. This is not a rig that I think you want to be flying really fast, because that's going to generate like harder collisions, unless you're trying to do like more cinematic stuff. But like, holy shit. Yeah, this canopy has a good range of adjustability. The putting it as low as it'll go. On the onboard DVR, there's a little bit of duct in view just at the bottom. And then I think fully maxed out on up tilt, it looks like you can get about 30 degrees, which will allow you to cruise pretty good. So that was the first battery. Here's the second battery, though, which is a lot stronger of a battery. It's the Lava V2 480. And I give it a couple good full throttle hits here, so we're gonna have some we should have some good RPM numbers. There was one, so that was a big full throttle stab. Let's take a look at the amps on the bottom right. 30. What? Wow, 30.8 amps. See if I can get it paused at just the right moment. 30.7. That's crazy. And you can see the battery is sagging all the way down. Nope, you can't because it's been blown up. This is a battery that's only had 50 mAh taken out of it, and it is all the way down at 3.28. So yeah, these new 1102s they either have stronger magnets or a tighter air gap, or they did something to the stator. These motors are making more power than the old 1102s. We're going to confirm that in a future stream where we test a bunch of these batteries on the bench. But I can just tell you that 30 amps, I think 30 amps is the highest I've ever seen. And I've never seen a motor dump a battery down to 3.2 like this. The GetRC 1002 25,000s are pretty hungry, but I think these new 1102s are even hungrier. I wish there was a higher kV version of this motor, like a 28,000 kV version of this motor could be really interesting, because we're still getting really good runtime. The higher kV version of this motor would more be for running bi-blades. This new BetaFPV 1102 on these tri-blades, this is really good. Like, this is knocking on the door of 2S performance. It's never going to outperform 2S. It just isn't. And so I still think that 2S is the way to go, but we're never going to be able to do that here because this frame won't hold a 2S battery, and this frame is required for this canopy. So this thing is stuck on 1S, but thankfully they've worked some fucking miracle on these motors. I'm really impressed. And then again, the GetRC 1002 25s are a phenomenal motor as well. So yeah, you can get this thing cranking on either bi-blades or tri-blades with either one of those motors and have something that flies really good. This is super fun to fly. It's not an absolute powerhouse, but it's got plenty of power to dig out of dives. And even like the efficiency is pretty good. 2S, one of the biggest benefits of 2S is the huge increase in efficiency because we're doubling the voltage. But this is pretty damn good. We are coming up on 2 minutes moving this thing all around the front yard and backyard. And that's like, if I can get 2 minutes flying hard, and this is on the lighter of the batteries, like I'm good, man. And we are now over 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 10 now. That is pretty much the end. The battery is coming back to life. The other thing that 2S kind of kills it on is the batteries don't sag as bad. Like this battery was just sagging down to 3.2 and now it's all the way back up above 3.5. And so like with any of these high power 1S setups, yeah, you're pushing the battery to its limit. It's going to sag like crazy when you're flying fast, but then if you slow down at the end of the battery and just do slow stuff, you can get like, I got like an extra 30 seconds out of this battery by just chilling out towards the end. Next battery here is a 580 mAh, which I don't suggest. We're getting plenty of runtime out of the lighter weight 480s, And so why go to a 580? Just buy more of the 480s. It'll fly better. And then you just land on your transmitter, right? This shirt available in my Etsy store reminds you of that. I'm going to keep wearing this until they all sell, by the way. So you just might as well go buy them now if you want to see me in a different t-shirt. Here's the weight difference. The 480 is 12.7 grams. The 580 is 14.2 grams. The 680, which you're going to see as well, is 16.2 grams. I don't know if I would recommend the 680 for anything because it's just so heavy. I think other than maybe like just obviously like I want as much runtime as possible, flight characteristics be damned, or like if you wanted to do like a long range run out somewhere or something like that, yeah, the 680. But yeah, the 580 would be a better kind of middle ground, I think. There's a crash. But man, for everything, like the Lava V2 480s are real good. Just buy twice as many as you think you need, and then you'll have plenty of them. And every like 2.5 minutes, you land on your transmitter, swap it out, away you go. Take advantage of the lightweight whenever you can, in my opinion. Here's some up high flying, which begs the question, will Gyroflow work? This is pretty good. There's a little bit of trembling, little bit of movement left and right. It's probably not coming through the live stream, but I can see just a little bit of motion. But good Lord, this is a tiny whoop. That is really, really good for a tiny whoop. This is also a fresh tiny whoop. When this thing starts to get beat up, it's not going to be that clean. But again, this is not a Thrasher rig. This is not a rig that you should, I don't think, be beating up super bad. So it should be somewhat fresh, and it should give you somewhat of these flight characteristics that you're seeing. Let me check the RPM on that crash. 42,000. 42,000 RPM on this battery. I'm going to fast forward towards the end here and get a final runtime. 3 minutes and 40 seconds on this 580 mAh battery. This is now the 680 mAh battery. And I did, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was me talking to myself. There is a massive full throttle hit on a fully charged 680. This is the biggest battery you'll ever run. 32 amps. So these motors will pull 32 amps. That's a lot. That's kind of crazy. I think I disarmed it at the door so that we could look at the RPM, but I don't think it was north of 42,000. Oh, it was 44,800. That's high for a 21,000 kV motor. I don't think it's actually 21,000 kV. I think it's actually more than that. This battery, this heavier 680 battery, I pushed it pretty hard, and I didn't get much extra runtime. 3 minutes and 58 seconds. That's another reason why I don't think that the 680 battery makes sense, is that it's so heavy that it's going to use, it's going to have to carry its extra weight, and you start to hit that point of diminishing returns. Here's an indoor flight with the super lightweight battery, the Tattoo 450. This is me trying as hard as I possibly can inside the house with this thing. This was not really enjoyable. This was like terrifying, and it felt super sketchy, but I did it for you. Support me over on CiottiFPV.com, and I'll do more dumb shit like this. This was rough, but you can do it. I shouldn't have done. There's a big Lego thing on that shelf that I almost just hit. It would have just absolutely imploded. But yeah, technically you can fly this thing inside. If you're gonna fly it inside, for the love of God, put it on the Meteor 65 Pro V2 frame with a set of the highest KV 802s that you can find, with hopefully 1.5 millimeter motor shafts, because a 1 mil shaft is gonna last like one crash before it bends all to hell. But yeah, the fact that I can do this at all is a testament to these propellers being very lightweight, these motors being really well paired and really powerful. And it's not even really tuned. I haven't really started to tune. I just took like my first crack at the tune, which is to move the D-gain slider up to 1.3, leave the P&I slider at 1.0, and just go. This could have a little bit of tune left in it to make this a little bit easier, but it's just too heavy. It's just way too heavy to do this. But on a lot of rigs that are this weight, I can't do any of this stuff because they don't have the response time. The fact that I'm able to like make a lot of these corrections and not hit stuff in a really small enclosed space is because the response time is really good. These 1811 Gemfan props are super lightweight. These motors are making great power, and they have just enough RPM for this motor prop combo. Like I said, this wasn't really fun, but I was really pleasantly surprised I was able to do this. This is not the rig that Teddy wants to tangle with, but he don't know that, so he's going for it. The runtime even kind of sucked inside the house. The runtime wasn't even good, but I think that's more on these batteries. These little tattoo batteries sag pretty hard. We're at 2 minutes and 30 flying really slow for the whole battery, and it's pretty much done. And I kind of over discharged that battery more than I like to. Last battery outside, 480. Starting to get a little bit more used to it. I wanted to get a fully charged battery, full throttle hit on the batteries that I think that you should run on this thing. Here we are at full throttle. We're up at 31.8 amps. Battery is sagging down to 3.3. We are working these batteries to death on these motors. Like this motor prop all up weight combo is taking a fully charged, fresh, good battery all the way down to 3.25 volts. This is it. This is the limit. Like, this is as hard as we can push these batteries. And to be honest, if you're going to use full throttle, you're going to hurt these batteries. A fully charged battery going down to 3.2 something volts at full throttle, that's a recipe for ruining those batteries. And so, again, this is not a freestyle basher. This is a cruising build. Can you use full throttle once in a while? Absolutely. But if you fly this thing like we fly freestyle, which is going full throttle all the time, it's going to massacre your batteries. I'm cool with that. I would rather have a motor that can fly like this, and then you just don't use full throttle. Or if you want to fly it, if you don't care about the $5 that battery costs, you fly a battery and use full throttle a bunch, and you'll kill that battery. But sure, they're inexpensive. I would rather have more performance, and then I can motor limit, or I can just not use full throttle, versus having less performance where like you're stuck, right? A setup with a little bit extra performance that's not needed, in my opinion, is always going to be a better setup. Much more versatile, and BetaFPV has found it, man. I don't think it's going to get any better than these motors and or the Gep RC 1002 25000. The Geps are the same way. Like, they will sag a fresh battery all the way down like that. And so you got to understand that, and you got to just like not hammer it super hard all the time if you care about your batteries lasting a long time. If you have a whole bunch of 1S 450s that you want to kill so you can come over to the 2S dark side, this is a great rig to do it on. So yeah, I'm really, really, really impressed with this. I absolutely wish that they'd gone 2S with this build. I will admit that. But they don't have a 300 mAh 2S battery for it. They might have had to do a whole new flight controller. Like, I get it. I get them staying with 1S. But yeah. And I'm blown away by what they did with 1S. And I love the way this thing flies. It flies great. But it could be a little bit better on 2S. And we'd have more motor options, right? Like, with this setup, we've got 2 motor options. This is a great motor. The Gep RC is a great motor, but it would be nice to have a half a dozen motor options, right? Which is what happens on 2S. Here's a comparison of open prop versus... No, it's not. This is another battery that I apparently flew. Nope. This is open prop. This is the Caillou Mini on 3S on a 300 mAh battery. Yeah, there it is. There's the acceleration. Yeah, here it is. So this is your open prop, closed prop comparison. Not a super fair comparison. This is now 3S on a 2.5-inch propeller on a Caillou Mini frame. But, like, it's important to remember that this style flying, doing that right there, you can't do that. You can't do that on these closed prop rigs. They just won't throw that distance. And so if this is more the flight style, the cruising speed that you're looking for, you got to do an open prop build. None of these whoop framed builds are going to cruise and throw anything like this. But what this build won't do is duck into those bushes and weave in and out of those bushes in a way that's, you know, remotely comfortable. I think I might have tried. Yeah, I got stuck in the tree. I thought that I flew a battery where I spent a bunch of time weaving in and out of the bushes with this thing. Did I not? Did you guys already see that? Maybe you guys already saw that and I didn't notice it. Yeah, I guess I did a little bit of it at the end of this battery. Hopefully you saw some of that. I'm blown away. I like, is it the end all be all? No. The way that this sled mounts, end all be all for everybody is different. For me, it's something that you can crash hard a lot, that also can do cinematic-ish type stuff. And is lightweight enough to do really technical flying. This nails the technical flying. That's for sure. It nails the isolation. Oh, well, Gyroflow. Yes. Here is the Maiden in Gyroflow. Let's see if it freaks out. This is the bad gyro. It should freak out. I'll be staggered if it doesn't freak out at full throttle. We'll just let this run. This does so many things right. That was full throttle, and it did not freak out. That's really impressive. This nails a lot of things. It's approachable. It's a toy. You know, all the advantages of 04 Lite. Apparently, you can put it in Gyroflow, even with the shitty gyro. You don't have to buy the crazy Flywoo version that's $20 extra that's got the MP66 gyro on it. This is crazy. I can't believe this soft mounting is able to eat up all the vibes. I'll be really interested to see... matter of fact, hold on. So this is the Maiden... Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was the Maiden on absolutely fresh propellers. I don't care about that. I care about it on beat up propellers. So here it is on much more beat up propellers. This is going to be much more telling. Let's see how this is. This is much more realistic. This is propellers that have not been hammered on, but they've had a couple crashes and I've bent them back. Unbelievable. It's still fine. Wow. This soft mounting platform, it is very soft, and that's why that this is okay. Yeah, that was a full throttle blast with the 680 mAh battery. That's really, really impressive. Oh shit. Let me see though. Let me let this play a little bit longer, and let me see if I can catch some of these little micro vibrations that you tend to get with Gyroflow. When you're not using some sort of software like what Jamie is working on to clean up the gyro signal. So let's just give this a little bit of time here. Also, let me do this. I'm going to come into advanced. Nope, not advanced. It's in here. I'm going to change it to original aspect ratio so that we get the little bit of extra vertical field of view. Wow. I was sure that this wasn't going to have enough soft mounting. to totally clean the gyro to totally clean this up so that the gyro signal was not aliasing or clipping. I'll bet you a big part of why this works so well is that they've mounted the VTX to this top sled, and that's basically mass damping. That is what you want. You want as much mass on the plate that has the camera so that it does not move as everything else vibrates underneath it. This is wild. There's been a bunch of full throttle hits that would normally make Gyroflow completely lose its mind. That was me hitting the ground. It just jitters all over the place. And I haven't seen it once. Continuing to crash it, continuing to beat the propellers up. That's just me bouncing around. Great job, BetaFPV. This is a hell of a bind and fly. My goodness. I can't imagine just buying this. I can't imagine like being new into FPV and just like, oh, I'm gonna buy this one, and then you get it and it flies like this. Like that's like buying your kid for their first car, like a fucking Ferrari 360 Modena. Like they're never gonna appreciate anything ever. I haven't seen one small or big jitter yet. And like, even on other somewhat soft-mounted setups, they're all over the place. Jesus. Oh yeah, here's the in through the trees that I was doing. Cool. So you guys did get to see it. This is with the heavy battery too. This is with the 680. That's wild. That's wild. I'm also excited to see what these motors do on some like lighter weight 1.6 inch prop setups. But boy, oh boy, this is something else. Don't not E6000 these grommets in, because this sled will rip off and you can lose it. Like there's the things that I showed you need to do before you fly this thing. Mainly putting the E6000 into the slots to make sure these grommets don't fall out. That's a problem. There's no real solution to that problem either. Like I legitimately think that this is the best possible setup. You put a little slot in the E6000 over it. Like that's kind of perfect. It's going to be a little bit annoying for sure when you have to work on this thing, but yeah. Other than that though, like there's nothing. I can't find anything to complain about. I don't know how durable this frame is. I was flying it pretty hard today. You got to see all the crashes. There might be one more flight file, I think, maybe on here. The frame looks absolutely fine, but I mean, we don't find out if these frames are durable for like 100 batteries. The frame is very stiff, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous that it might break. I'm usually more comfortable with a softer frame so that it bends, not break. It bends rather than doesn't break. You know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, I don't know. I really like what they've done with the bracing. They've lined up this duct to duct brace here with these motor braces here. That's really, really smart. And it draws like a circle around the whole thing. They've made these ducts as slim as they can, which really makes it fly awesome outside. This is killer. You can use this frame on other builds. You can't use this sled on any other frame. So I would love to see a 1.6 inch prop version of this frame. The 1.8 inch thing is kind of cool. It's great that we have a couple new props, but I would really prefer to build this setup in a 1.6 inch frame with the Gemfan 1610 biblades. That's just sort of my kind of favorite. We don't have a great, we don't have a good bi-blade option for this, and I really like the way the bi-blades fly outside in the whoops. But boy, that we're splitting hairs here. This is phenomenal. Really phenomenal. Yeah. I can't wait to test this some more. I think it's going to blow a lot of the other stuff I'm going to test it against out of the window. As a reminder, some of the testing that's coming up, I'm going to take this electronics package and drop it into the Meteor75 Pro frame on a set of 802s to see if it's flyable indoor. Probably won't be, but we'll at least try. I'm going to compare that to the lightest possible indoor freestyle 04 light build that I've put back together here. And then it's also going to get compared to the 2S 1.6 inch 04 light build. So, yeah, a lot of really fun comparisons kind of coming, but I feel pretty confident just saying, like, if you want something like this, get this now. This is probably going to sell really, really well. I think I have an affiliate link to BetaFPV's website over on CiottiFPV.com. Hit that at some point before you check out. Maybe I'll put a link to this thing, an affiliate link in the description below. Yeah, really good. Really, really, really good. You could take this with you everywhere, and nobody's going to yell at you. Nobody's going to even know that you're flying it. And then if they see you flying it, they're just going to be like, oh, so you're flying your 12-year-old's little toy drone. That's cute. What are you, an idiot or something? And then you can just give them the knowing grin that you just got to take your eyeballs and transport them into the world in full three-dimensional space. And they didn't. And, you know, no wonder they're upset. Let them be upset. They're the asshole here. Yeah, super impressive, man. BetaFPV, phenomenal job. Thank you so much for sending this over with the extra frames and the extra canopies. Wild. I'll be back on Sunday, probably broken. We are moving Sage into his first apartment tomorrow. In the 7,000 degree heat here in Georgia. So tomorrow is going to suck bad, but I'll recover Sunday. And maybe we'll dive into some of the Mythbusters-ish stuff. See what these motors run KV-wise. See what kind of power they make compared to some of the other motors. So yeah. Thanks for hanging, friends. Again, sorry I didn't interact with any of you in the chat. There was just too much to talk about. We'll talk more on Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. CiottiFPV.com if you like these live streams and would like to see them continue. It is almost impossible to do FPV as a full-time job. Help me out, and I'll help you out. I'll tell you what to buy, what not to buy. I'm struggling so hard to find more negative things to say about this, because usually that's, you know, what I'm known for is like, don't buy this because it's because of this, that, and the other. But I kind of just want to go and fly this thing some more, and that says a lot. So be good, people. I'll see you on Sunday. Here is I'm gonna plug this in, and I'm gonna play the last flight file right before the live stream that I didn't have a chance to pull off of this thing. So here's one more flight. This was on the 480 Lava V2. Be good, friends. Love you. Bye. I'm not ready. Nope, that's the SD card. We don't want that. Come on. Here it is. Is that this one? Yep, here it is. See you Sunday, people. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday night. Later.
yard where the grass grows wild. CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy spaghetti's fur flies and jet wash dreams, yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Bit fuzz and prop spin all tangled in place, yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail. In the circus of the sky, they never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, they zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a 2D smile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ciotti's on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz fuel fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah, yeah. Ciotti behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive, Teddy. Push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind.